Hey everyone, it's me, Bryan teacher. In this video, we'll do some speaking practice for the side-by-side book 1, page 82. Talk about it. Where do they live and what do they do? Are you ready? Then let's get started. First, let's practice the grammar in the sky blue boxes. Please listen and repeat. I live. We live. You live. They live. He lives. She lives. It lives. Okay, now to the question. Where do I live? Where do we live? Where do you live? Where do they live? Where does he live? Where does she live? Where does it live? Okay, and the last question. What do I do? What do we do? What do you do? What do they do? What does he do? What does she do? What does it do? All right, now let's get started. My name is Linda. I live in London. I work in a library. Who is she? She is Linda. Where does she live? She lives in London. What does she do? She works in a library. She is a librarian. Next, my name is Bryan. I live in Boston. I work in a bank. What's his name? His name is Bryan. Where does he live? He lives in Boston. What does he do? He works in a bank. He is a banker. Next, we're Walter and Wendy. We live in Washington, D.C. We work in an office. Who are they? They are Walter and Wendy. Where do they live? They live in Washington, D.C. What do? They work in an office. They are office workers. Next, my name is Bob. I live in Buffalo. I drive a bus. Who is he? He is Bob. Where does he live? He lives in Buffalo. What does he do? He drives a bus. He's a bus driver. Next, we are Howard and Henry. We live in Honolulu. We paint houses. What are their names? Their names are Howard and Henry. Where do they live? They live in Honolulu. What do? They paint houses. They are painters. Next, my name is Tina. I live in Tampa. I drive a taxi. What's her name? Her name is Tina. Where does she live? She lives in Tampa. What does she do? She drives a taxi. She's a taxi driver. Next, we're Carol and Ray. We live in Cleveland. We cook in a restaurant. Who are they? They are Carol and Ray. Where do they live? They live in Cleveland. What do? They cook in a restaurant. They are chefs. Next, my name is Susan. I live in San Diego. I sell cars. What's her name? Her name is Susan. Where does she live? She lives in San Diego. What does she do? She sells cars. She is a salesperson. And finally, my name is Victor. I live in Vancouver. I play the violin. Who is he? He is Victor. Where does he live? He lives in Vancouver. What does he do? He plays the violin. He is a magician. Okay, and finally, how about you? Where do you live? What do you do? I live in Korea. I teach students. I am a teacher. Bryan teacher. All right, that's it. We're all finished. And as always, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.